Well, it's Friday morning, and I'm back with more relaxing painting with DiceNDungeons. I hope that you all enjoyed having Nicole the last couple of streams on Monday and Wednesday as she started and completed the very complicated and large Beholder. I had a chance to see it when I got back yesterday, and it's really pretty amazing. I don't know how well it showed up on the stream, but in real life it is. So one thing, is if you've been watching my painting and compare it to hers, is that she's really, really good at color selection and layering, especially layering and shading. And I'm not. I'm pretty good at coloring and staying within the lines. That's probably the best way to describe my skill, is that I have learned how to stay within the lines, but then doing anything a little bit more sophisticated than that, picking a color, maybe using a wash on it. Sometimes I'll try a highlight, but that's why my figures look the way they do and why hers looks the way they do. But that aside, what we're going to be working on today is yet more of these sewer tiles. These are yet to be made gray, so I'm going to be starting off by doing the base coating on 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 32 of these sewer floor tiles, so I'll just be putting gray paint on those. There's enough of them so that the first ones I do will probably be dry enough for touch-up by the time I get to the end, and I'll be able to finish those. Maybe somehow find a place to put them here, and then I'll be starting to do a green wash on the gray ones that I did last week. There's 144 of these altogether, and we got one bottle of green wash, and I think we've hardly ever used this. The last time we did sewer tiles, there was probably maybe 30 of them, I'm thinking. Not very many, so we'll see how far that goes. Hopefully I won't run out. So these are just the floor tiles, and we need to get started here. So I'll be starting by mixing up the paint, which has been sitting around for a little while and has settled pretty nicely. Is this a new bottle? Yeah, this is a brand new bottle. It hasn't even been used yet. Doing that exciting thing, stirring paint and brushing it on these tiles. And I see that, yes, I will do a flip. I even got a flip thing for you. I got a pen. I haven't flipped a pen yet. I was trying to find something that hadn't been flipped in a while, but I'll be happy to flip you off in just a little bit. I see though that the studio has changed a little bit. One is that it's cluttered. So between now and, I probably don't need to worry about it until Submarine Wednesday. Then I'll have to find the colors I was using and get that arranged and set up a little more room here because of the size of the parts. But the big thing is that the camera has been rotated 90 degrees, and so now you're seeing it from the side because Nicole didn't like this being right in front of her face, whereas I think I'm better off having it there. But I'm going to leave it here because I'm just painting sewer tiles, so the orientation, as you can see, orientation does not matter too terribly much. Flip. Here we go. Occasional flip. I'll even do an extra one because I'd been gone for a while. All right. Stir the paint. This is going to be a little bit because this is very much settled in the bottle. And as Who has noted, oh, there we go, we're getting an effect. and it's moving the whole camera. Pretty cool. It's wavering, and it's rotating. Yeah, I'm much better at creating the wave effect for some reason. And the whole thing is, you can't see it off screen here, but the entire foam container that holds the little vortex mixer was starting to wander around. It's like moving. Yeah, it's still moving. Yeah, I'm not sure why that was. Maybe I hold it down more. I don't know. Maybe I'm just lucky. Yeah, but there it goes. Oh, that was good as a starting and finishing. I'm noticing that it is at low speeds. I could really get it going there. There we go. Hopefully that is mixed well. Just moving some things aside here to get myself more room so that I can set these tiles down somewhere. What do we want to do? We want to put gloves on because I want to get paint, on my fingers, almost certainly. Isn't Stairmaster, wasn't that sort of copyrighted? That was an episode of My Little Pony? Yeah, I think it was. That was one of the episodes. Don't ask me how I know. But, yeah, so as long as there's no like little TM or R in a circle or something, or C in a circle, it should be okay to say that. Sometimes I just can't really see the chat screen. I know something popped up, but I can't read it. Guess I'll have to look later. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Opening the gray paint. I mean, what could be more thrilling on a Friday morning than watching quantities of gray paint be spread on square tiles? I can't imagine. Okay, well, nice fresh bottle of paint. And as I was noting the last time I was working on these, there's all sorts of little texture on the surface. And so I need to do that. I found that kind of works because the paint doesn't necessarily flow into the little divots, as well as, by just brushing across the surface. So doing this kind of pushes it down in there, and then I just go across it once. Not that, given the texture of the surface and the nature of the paint, I'm not getting any brush marks really, but, just to make sure it's uniform, we do that kind of thing. This is actually kind of relaxing. The most strenuous part of this for me is, to make sure that I get all four sides here. I have to pay attention that much. And when I was painting before last week, I only missed one side on one tile, so that was pretty decent. Well, no, it's going to rain now, but not until really late. There's supposed to be precipitation, like after 1 or 2 in the morning or something, which is not really Friday night, even though that's what the National Weather Service calls it, is Friday night. It's, I guess, really technically Saturday morning. But it's unusual to have a Friday evening without snow or sleet or something. I'll be doing this now until about 2, because that's when relaxing painting happens, from 10 until 2, more or less. And sometimes it starts a little late, sometimes it ends a little early, depending on what it is that is being painted and whether or not there's other stuff going on. But other than for a break, which always takes longer than I anticipate, got a new break button. A little studio thing here. There's room for 15 buttons, each of which can have like multiple uses. And when I first started this stream on a regular basis and learned how to get everything going on my own, there were like 9, maybe. No, there's no picture. It's just words. So it says start break. But for me, that's good. I was never really very good with understanding pictograms, so sometimes it's weird. Sometimes now you buy something, at a hardware store, a piece of equipment, a tool that requires some assembly, and the instructions sometimes don't have any words, they just have pictures. And the pictures have these little line drawings, and I have to tell you, sometimes the line drawings don't seem to have any match with anything that actually came in the box of the tool. So they're all nicely numbered, like 1 through 27, in terms of the assembly steps. Okay. But what it is they're trying to tell you to do is very difficult. Anyway, no, there's not a new picture. It just says start break. Anyway, there were like 8 buttons on it, and I thought I was hitting them right, but then I was told in no uncertain terms that I had royally screwed up one of these sessions. Didn't hit the start recording button, even though I thought I did. I'm not sure what happened. Anyway, we talk about it on our stream about the demographics being under 7 and over 70. I think what happened was our DM, who also is the person who sets up the studio, decided that that basically the capability of me was within that demographic, that either I had the capability of someone under 7 or, in my case, literally over 70. And so the number of buttons just got down to next to nothing. So now there's like 4 buttons instead of maybe 8 or 9, 7 or 8 or however many there were. And they have like really simple instructions on them. I guess I shouldn't, I shouldn't take offense, I guess. This will be much simpler for you. When you get started, push number 1. Then push number 2. If you take a break, push start break. It has cut down on errors, I have to say that. It's pretty hard to screw it up when there's only 4 buttons and they're well labeled like that. Kind of like the TV Batman's Lair, where everything was very neatly labeled. Okay, well, I've got 4 out of 32 done. Those of you who do arithmetic will remember, note that is 2/16 or 1/8. 1/8 being something like 1.65, 1.625, I forget exactly what, which tells you, I used to remember that, but it's less than 20%. It's less than a fifth of the way there. But, moving along. Whirly bit. I found that if I do that, the amount of touch-up is pretty limited. Mainly just catching the corners where I might have taken some of the paint off. Remove this from the sticky tack handle. Yep, anyway, now I've got an under 7 and over 70 studio key panel there. There's nothing terribly much confusing or confusable. This is our software upgrades, which happen with some frequency. Thing is working. Why not? Well, because somebody decided that it would be a great time to push through a software upgrade, like 15 minutes before the stream was supposed to start. Some of them are nice, when you boot up the computer, it says update available. Do you want to install it now or later? And you can tell it, later please, I'm trying to get something done here. And it just keeps doing that, of course, reminding one until finally it's done. But some of them just decide, well, it's available, you're going to get it. And after you get it, everything else that you have running isn't going to work because, I don't know, all the links are broken, or some parameter was reset to default. Default isn't what it used to be. It's the new default. That hasn't happened in a while. That was 6 out of 32. 3/16. It's not an easy fraction to turn into a decimal. we're coming up on a real milestone pretty soon. This is 7:30 seconds. And 7 being a prime number, that's not reducible to a smaller fraction. Not a smaller fraction. Size of the fraction stays the same, but I mean a smaller denominator. I remembered that word. Was it 3rd grade or something? 2nd or 3rd grade? We learned about numerators and denominators. Back in the day when calculators were gigantic desk-sized machines. And if you were going to divide a number by another number, you did long division. I don't really recall why it was called long division, because I don't think we were ever taught short division. So if there is no short division option, why would there need to be a long division option? It's the difference. To this day, I have to say, I never really paid attention to that, but there we are. The adjective, why long division if there is no short division? Maybe it's just one of those things, because when you're in whatever grade it was that we started doing division, to call it long division made it sound like more of an accomplishment, didn't it? Oh, you're just doing short division, huh? On the other hand, because that's how 2nd graders talked with each other, when they were doing Monkey Island stuff and showing their superiority. I, on the other hand, am doing long division. How is that short division working out for you? Are you carrying it out to the 18th decimal place? Well, I did. It's a number that never ends. It just keeps going. I bet that has a name. Not that we ever knew what the name was back in those days, but, at that grade, but. So that's definitely the kind of taunting that we did with each other in my 2nd or 3rd grade class. But actually, that particular taunt about short division is not something that occurred, because there wasn't any short division. Just the long kind. So. Oh no, I talked right over the milestone. 8:30 seconds, 1/4, 25%. A quarter pounder. That's like the first milestone in things feeling like they're getting done. Here, a quarter of the way through. That's making real progress. Anyway, so anyway, I've got under 7 or over 70 calibrated interface panel now. That's supposed to prevent me from making any kind of error in producing this stream. You know, I suppose if I had any kind of curiosity, since there's 15 buttons on the thing and only 4 are being used, I would go, what does this button do? What does this button do? What does this button do? And I'd be pushing them all. And of course they don't do anything because they have to be linked through the software to a certain function. I mean, that would be kind of under 7 kind of thing to do. It's just, you know, punch the buttons while saying, what does this button do? Not really wanting an answer. Might be an expression of curiosity, like really wanting to know what the button does. But then you would wait for an answer before punching the button. But that's not how it works. It's like you're saying, what does this button do? Usually after you've already punched the button, in which case it's not a question about wanting real information about the purpose and function of the button. It's just more a statement of you being a jerk. What is this button? What is this button? And you usually, you know, you especially do that, you know, otherwise you could just push the buttons and see what happened, right? You could do an experiment kind of thing. But if you're doing the what does this button do kind of taunt, you're taunting. So, anyway. I'm not going to bother doing that because I really don't care what the other buttons do. I'm here to do relaxing painting, not button taunting. Though I'm guessing who probably would if who were doing this, who would be doing less painting and more of the what does this button do kind of thing. Probably would be doing things like, oh, what does this color look like if it is spilled all over the work surface? Gee, wouldn't the microphone look good if it were painted like this? Or, I don't know, I haven't broken anything lately. Let me break this. Actually, more commonly, oh, I have not started anything on fire. Now, since the break has ended, let's see if this will burn. Maybe we should have who as a guest star sometime and just see what kind of destruction would be wrought. This is 1236, that's not a bad thing. 1236, those numbers are all divisible by other numbers, so you can turn that into 1/3. That's pretty good. I mean, you take a big number like 36 and then reduce it down to a little number like 3. The magic of fractions and division. So this is 1236, which doesn't sound like much. In fact, it sounds kind of confusing. Those are both big numbers, 1236, but you can turn that into 1/3. Which is a pretty 1/3 is a pretty good fraction and suggests a fair amount of progress toward completion. Unfortunately, it's not a very good decimal. It's one of those evil decimals, one of those infinite decimals. C completed. So 1/3 turns into 0.333333333333, and you could keep saying 3, and your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren until the very end of the universe, when no one would care anymore, at least that we know of. Would just have to keep, in order to say it, or to get it completed, we just have to keep saying 3 forever. I'm not sure if is that more frightening than annoying, or more annoying than frightening. Anyway, yeah, 1/3 is a really nice, neat fraction, but a really, really nasty decimal. Anyway, that's what that one was, that last one. This one is 13/32, and you can't do anything with that at all. It's just 13. Unlucky number in this case. Although, this is the 13th tile on a Friday. There 32 of these, is quite a few. It's not as many as 144, which is what I started with. And you would expect that to be the case, because if you keep painting, and as long as you're not replenishing the store from which, not the store as in a retail establishment or wholesale sales place, but the supply, the number, as long as you're not replacing the number of tiles so that when you get one done, you get another one to do, which is what it would be like if this were a real assembly line kind of factory kind of situation. But no, in this case, they're not replaced, and so by getting one done, one is actually closer to complete. Even though when you start with 144, it takes a while to feel like you're getting anywhere. But anyway, this is getting much closer to being finished with the gray paint. What did I say? This is number 13? 15, sorry, number 15. It's another one of those you can't do anything with the fraction, really. This is number 14. Yeah, you can turn that into 7/16. That doesn't really get you anywhere either, though, perceptually. So this next one is 15, 30 seconds. One good thing about this new camera arrangement is that it's pulled back far enough so that it's hard to get off screen. See that who stopped communicating. I guess, talking about division was just too much. Okay, well, this next one is great symbolic value. Okay, this is 16/32, which is 8/16. That doesn't sound like much, does it? 4/8, and that just sounds awkward. Or 2/4, which also sounds awkward, but is in fact half. This is 1/2. 1/2, 50%. At this point, one could say, now we're getting somewhere. We're halfway done. So 1/2 that's a real nice number. Everybody can relate to that. Half of this or half of that. It is kind of oddly, though, much harder to relate to something like 2/4 or 4/8. It's exactly the same number. But you never hear people going on, I am 4/8 of the way through. Well, that's great. So there, that was a symbolic achievement of being halfway through. Now after this, I'm more than halfway through. I'm working on 17/32, and that doesn't sound, that's just another one of those weirdly awkward numbers. So let's just say I'm now more than half through, halfway done. Yeah. So, speaking of like 1/3 or 2/3, where you end up with a number that it just, in terms of the integers that we use, as a decimal go on forever. I mean, when you think about it, and I don't know that anybody really does, or if they did, why, but I've got dead air to fill here, so we're going to think about it. If I'm remembering correctly, usually what happens is you go on, 0.3, and you might go on for like two more digits or something, 0.333. And if I'm remembering correctly, the convention at that point was to put a straight line, like a dash. I think it was above the number, the last 3. I'm pretty sure. I know there was weird, not having done that for like 2 lifetimes of some of you. Can't remember exactly, but I think it was like a bar over the number, which meant that you just repeated that number forever. So, you'd see like 2, maybe 3 digits of 0.33 or 0.333, and then the last one would have that bar on it. And that just meant that you would have 3s that just never ended. And that, that wasn't too hard to deal with. And it's like, oh yeah, well, we just have, a whole lot more 3s, and they just go on. And you don't have to think about it any more than that. Unless you were doing some sort of engineering thing where you'd have to actually work out more decimals, like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 of them or something. And even then, it's not too awful. But if you think of it in terms of, this is your family's job. Your family's job is to complete the decimal of 1/3. which means that you need to say 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So you maybe can say, I don't know, let's say 3 threes a second, just to keep this, the 1/3 and the 3 theme going. So your job is to say 3 threes per second. And okay, well, we'll give you breaks. You only have to do that, for 8 hours a day. Really, what you really should say is that you can't ever eat or sleep. There's no breaks, no weekends, no holidays, no trips to the beach, unless, of course, what you do while you're taking these trips is you keep saying three times per second. So let's do that. Let's do an extreme, okay? You have to keep saying three times per second. And then, you eventually retire and your children, maybe there's more than one of you and you take turns. So your family, that's your family responsibility, not your individual one. We'll just say that. Keep saying three times per second. And that goes on for your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, great-great-great-grandchildren. At some point, you begin to not even be able to think about the generations that have passed. And you begin to think about, like, just the passage of time. Somebody needs to keep saying three times per second until the sun goes nova. No, even that. You get to be on an interstellar spaceship, okay? And you get to escape here before the sun goes nova and the planet ends. But somebody needs to keep saying three times per second until entropy destroys the universe as we know it. And you still haven't made any progress at all. Even through all that time and all of those threes, you really haven't made any progress at all in actually completing the decimal of 1/3. Somehow that seems to me just a little bit more disturbing than 0.33 with a bar over the last 3. Who would invent a number system as diabolical as that? There's something as simple as 1 out of 3. Would turn into such a nightmare of saying three times a second until the universe ended and you still hadn't come anywhere close to completing it. So the next time you see a 1/3, maybe it'll give you shivers. It should. And there are other numbers like that too. Probably be coming up on one here if I pay attention to what number of tile we're on, but I haven't been, having been so distracted by the notion of what infinite really means. So there. That's the latest old guy rant about numbers and fractions and decimals. But maybe what it's saying is that even though, when it comes time to practical application of numbers, fractions are really not very useful. Okay, I mean, they can if you're just using like a tape measure or something in the imperial system and you're dealing with 16ths or even 64ths of an inch, that kind of thing. People can get kind of familiar with that level. And the fractions work there. But they don't really work terribly well. Sophisticated use of numbers, which is why things get turned into decimals, but decimals can become scary. So the number pi, which is not something you can eat, unfortunately. I'm going to give this a stir. I'm starting to separate a little bit. It's another one of those common numbers that goes on and on forever. In this case, it becomes more complicated because you can't just have endless generations until the end of the universe just saying three times a second. All the numbers are different. Then there are some of a certain age, probably, short of high school, where it would just be kind of weird and not something you could gloat about. But like when you first learn about pi, what grade that would be in, but let's just say it's some sort of like middle school age. It has to be, right? And then you learn that pi isn't like 3 decimals long. It's not just like 1614, and there isn't any. You can't put a bar over the last number or anything, meaning that number keeps going on forever. There's nothing that convenient about it. It's that each next number is a different number, and it doesn't come around. It doesn't repeat. So I think the nerd equivalent to a bully might be somebody that would go, I just calculated pi to the 176th digit. Back in the day when you had to do that with a paper and pencil, that would be that'd be kind of a thing somebody might say, and then you go, that's all you had to do for your entire summer vacation, is you sat around calculating pi to that number. Somebody else has already done that. You can probably just look it up. And then every once in a while you read about, a news story. I guess not so much anymore because computing power is so strong and it's not really a thing. But when computers were relatively new, it was, oh yeah, we calculated pi to the 10th to the 9th. It's another thing, too, orders of magnitude. But that's a digression, yeah. So it was, big news that somebody calculated pi out that many digits. Folks would go, oh yeah, wow, that's cool, that's a lot of digits. What does it have to do with me? Is that going to give me a winning lotto number? Anyway, yeah. But I think that, thinking about this, the psychological effect of pi is different than the effect maybe of a third. because each next digit is different, and it takes an effort to calculate those. Right, so somebody can be impressed by the fact that somebody used one of these new computers things, right, to calculate the value of pi out to some trillionth digit. So if someone came along and said, oh, somebody calculated 1/3 out to the trillionth digit, they probably would be ridiculed. It's like, yeah, I bet that number is 3, isn't it? Wow, you're a math genius. How would you possibly have known that? I bet you're all anxious for the break to start, aren't you? But no, it can't, because I have 6 more after this. This is what, 25, 30 seconds? Can't do anything with that number. Sounds like you're close to the end, though. That's another one of those perception things as the numerator, the number on top, the number you say first when you say a fraction, is a big number. It's 25. 25 is a pretty big number. And even though there's a 32 underneath, and that's a bigger number, it still feels like you're getting along pretty well. I mean, you could even say 25 47ths, and that it sounds like something. Certainly better than saying 11 of it. Yeah. Piece of plastic that came on. I think this is now numbered. Number 27. 27. I miscounted because I was dabbling about the different perception one would have of the infinity of pi as opposed to the infinity of a third. There's like a novelty with pi. Each digit is different than the preceding one. It feels like something is happening as opposed to just a monotonous repetition of 3 forever. Of course, it was possible. I don't know, nobody did this. I suppose it would be possible to create a number system in which pi, the ratio of diameter to circumference, or radius to circumference, is diameter to circumference of a circle was an integer. Then probably the things we consider to be integers would all be sorts of weird decimals, so that didn't happen. The numbers themselves are just arbitrary things. Granted that integers make sense in the physical world. You can see 1 of something. You can tell that's different than 5 of something. You can see that 5 of something are 5 ones of something, So in terms of counting, it made perfect sense that we would have what we have now, which we call it like a, integer-based system. And you can mess around with the integers. You can have integers like base 10, integers base whatever. You can even have integers base pi, I suppose. In which case pi would be an integer, right? Not a mathematician. That probably exists. It's probably in use somewhere for something to make calculations simpler. Intuitively useful. Anyway, yeah. This managed to fill some time between the start and the finish of putting gray paint on dungeon tiles. This is number 29. 29 is not a useful fraction or decimal, except 29 30-seconds. Does sound like we're getting pretty close to the end. 30 seconds sounds even closer because the first digit of both the numerator and denominator are the same. 29 30-seconds is one thing, but 30 30-seconds is another, and that probably would even work with larger denominators like 29 37ths. It doesn't sound nearly as close to the end as 30 37ths.